Now I've got it. Now it's okay. Now it's recording. Sorry about that. Right. Yesterday I was a little bit, actually I was a little bit tired all day. I don't know why. My son has been here for about a month. Really nice to see him. He lives quite away from me. And I think I'm a bit sad when he left. And he said he was sad as well. Also, I went out today into the garden. It was. Never mind. I'm not okay. I'm gonna tell you about some. Oh yes, I want to tell you about. Can you see me? Okay. Is it light okay here, or shall I? Is that any better? No, I don't know. How about that? Is that okay? Oh, one of my lamps is broken, I'm afraid. That's good enough, isn't it? Alright, now, I'm going to tell you, we were talking about all the cars, and I also told you a lot about my driving experiences from a very young age, the age of 18. Told you about my test. I told you that I was a pretty wild driver. I also let me see. I think I better start off with the A35 van. A35 van would be about 1960. I think I better show you a picture of it as well. Green van. And I'd had this same kind of van when I was working for Williams as a tallyman. And of course I got the sack, as you know, because they thought I was involved in the robbery, which technically I was. So although I didn't do anything, I technically was. But never mind about that. That's an old episode about crime. It's scary, quite scary in fact. But anyway, I had I got another job working for a firm that sold vacuum cleaners and sewing machines. Now we sold. They used to advertise in the national newspapers, very often in the news of the world, and they would, in the advertisement, they would have a coupon. They would advertise these cleaners for, I think it was £5.99, £5.99, and also the sewing machines were the same price, I believe, for £5.99. It was either £5.99 or £4.99. I really can't remember. It's a long time ago, back in 1960, I guess. And people used to fill in the coupon. They cut out the advertisement from the newspaper, fill in the coupon, say they were interested in having a home demonstration without obligation, completely free of charge. And I got a job working for this firm, and they would give us these leads, L-E-E-D-S, leads. And you'd have maybe 10 or so of people to call on. So you had this van, A35 van, and you had the sewing machines and vacuum cleaners in the van. But apart from these little cheap vacuum cleaners, which worked perfectly okay, you had a much more expensive one. And also, with regards to the sewing machines, the one which is only £4.99, £5 almost, it worked fine. We had to learn how to use them, how to demonstrate them. We did all that bit training in the office, of course. So they worked okay, but we also carried with us, apart from the £5 sewing machine, we carried with us a £40 sewing machine. I think it's always £39.99. Yeah, £39.99. And why did we carry the two? Well, what it was all about, I think, I'm not going to tell you what it's about, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. Okay, I knock on the door, lady comes to the door, and you've got her name and address, and she comes to the door, and she says, I see you're interested in a demonstration of the vacuum cleaner. I said, yes, I'm not sure I want to buy it. I said, no, it's purely a demonstration. Can I come in and show it to you? She said, yes, of course. So you go to the van, you take the £5 vacuum cleaner into the house, and you plug it in. It's a fairly small vacuum cleaner, about this big, you know, a little bit noisy, but it worked fine. You plugged it in. It didn't have a very basic vacuum cleaner, but it did the job. We put maybe some crumbs on the carpet, because people have carpets, and we put a few crumbs. We always carried a couple of biscuits, which we'd crumble up in our hands and sprinkle on the carpets. And then we get the vacuum cleaner out and show how efficient it was. It would pick up all the crumbs. Oh, I see, that's very good. Very good. I said, you have a try. You test it yourself. So I gave her a biscuit, and she crunched it up in her hand and did the same thing and vacuumed it. Oh, yes, it's very good. Yes, I think I'll buy this. I said, that's fine. I said, that's £4.99. Yes, she said, fine. So she went into the kitchen and she came back with her purse. And she got the money out. She gave me £5. I had a little case with me which contained the paperwork. I opened the case. We sat at the table in the dining room, and I took out the paper and to sign the paper and to get what she's bought and give her a receipt for the money and say, right, now that's yours. Okay, so please enjoy it. And she said, oh, thank you very much indeed. I'm very happy. This is the first, until now, I've had to do this with a U-bank carpet cleaner, which you push up and down, which it's got little brushes inside. In fact, I remember back in the 1940s, that's what my mother used. He called it a U-bank, E-W-B-A-N-K, U-bank. Oh, I said, this is so much easier, so much better, so much fun. I said, yeah, well, I think you'll be quite satisfied with that. So I said, thank you very much indeed. And, I just got to the front door and I said, oh, just one moment. She said, yes. I said, well, I know it's a lot of money, but while I'm here, I've got another vacuum cleaner in my van, which I'll give you an idea. Maybe in a few years' time, you might consider it. Can I bring it in and show you? Yes, I'll have a look at it, but I mean, I've already bought one vacuum cleaner. I don't want another one. Oh, no, yeah, bring it in if you want. Yeah, I'll have a look at it. So I go to the van and I come back with this quite a large container, quite heavy. I put it down in the living room. I open it and I take out this vacuum cleaner. And it's beautiful. It's silver. It's got all the attachments. And I take it out and she says, oh, that looks very expensive. I said, it is. One day, maybe, you never know your luck. If you get lucky on the pools or the lotto, you'll buy one of these one day. She said, if I could be so lucky. I said, well, you never know. But I'll show you how it works. So I demonstrated it, and I showed her how she could actually put different attachments on and go along the top of the curtains. All the curtains along the, and you could also put another attachment on and hoover the sofa and the stairs, things which you could not do with that cheap vacuum cleaner. And I said, you have a go. Oh, she said, no, I might break. No, she said, have a go. Oh, she said, so she tried it out for 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, she said, I love this. I said, yeah, I know, it's beautiful. It's a lot of money, though, isn't it? She said, well, actually, how much is it? I said, well, it's $39.99. It's nearly £40. A lot of money. I said, oh, if only I had the money. I said, well, look, you've just bought this vacuum cleaner. I'll tell you what I can do. I can only do this, honestly, just for you. I'll do this. You paid me £5. I got the case out and showed her, this is your receipt. I said, I'll tell you what I can do. It's up to you, but this £5, I can take it as a deposit on this more expensive cleaner, and you can pay it monthly. It's £5 a month. She said, really? She said, you can cancel the contract for the. I said, well, yeah, I think I can do that. My firm doesn't like me doing it because it's a bit, because they've only got a limited number of these expensive vacuum cleaners. I said, okay, but yeah, we'll do it. And so we take the paperwork out, and I make a financial agreement, which I tear up the receipt for the vacuum cleaner for £5. I put down the deposit as £5 for the new vacuum cleaner, which is £40, and I make the payments of £5 a month. And she signs it, and she's happy. She's laughing and so happy and so pleased. I take the little old, it's not old. I'll take the £5 vacuum cleaner back to the van, and I'll leave her with the £40 vacuum cleaner, of which I've earned 25% commission. 25%. Now, this is what you call switch selling. SWITCH. In other words, you switch one product for another. You're using psychology, and you're a con man. I'm not proud of these things. I did these things because I got married very, very young. By the time I was 19, I was married with 2 children. And I had a lot of expenses, living expenses. And that's no excuse, I know. Many, many years later, when I joined the Labour Party and became a socialist, I look back on those days and think, what a terrible man I was. But that's what I did. And I was very successful. Not only did we do this with the vacuum cleaners, we also did exactly the same technique, almost word for word, with the sewing machines. We first demonstrated the £5 sewing machine. You could only do a basic stitch. Then we switched it to the £40 sewing machine, which had all the fancy stitches, and of course it always worked. You sold the first one for £5, and then you switch it to the £40 one. Oh yeah, that is switch selling. I think that technique now in selling is probably illegal or banned. I'm sure it is. So there's a couple of funny things happened. I was coming back from out a place called Kingston, just outside of London, and it was quite late at night. I'd been selling, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I was driving fast as usual, much too fast, and I had the back of my van was full of heavy machines, the vacuum cleaners and sewing machines, and I came to a set of traffic lights, and they suddenly changed to red, and I had to brake very, very quickly, and the load behind me shifted, and the driver's seat in this little A35 van would tilt up. And what happened was that the whole way to the sewing machines and vacuum cleaners, the big ones, they pushed my seat up so I was flat against the windscreen. My seat was pushed right up to the windscreen, my head on the windscreen. And it was very hard to get out of the car. It really was difficult. So that's one thing. That was the A35 van. And another event with the A35 van, just after the birth of my first child, when I was only 18 years old. I got married at 18 in January, and our first child was born in August. And I'd gone with my brother-in-law. We call it in English to wet the baby's head. It means to go and have a drink. Nothing to do with pouring water on baby's head at all, but that is the slang for let us go and wet the baby's head. So I met my brother-in-law, who was married to my sister Pamela. Pamela, I'm afraid, is no longer with us. Wonderful girl. She died at the age of 44 of cancer. A tragedy. When I heard that, well, you know, you never get over these things, you know. They say time heals, but you never forget. Anyway, went for a drink with Jim. And I wasn't a very good drinker. You know, I drink maybe 3 or 4 pints. That's all I would need, and I'd be quite drunk. So driving back from somewhere in South London, I was coming down Brixton Hill about at 11 o'clock at night, and I was driving too far. It was a 30-mile-an-hour limit. I was probably doing 50, but very little traffic about, very quiet. And I saw at the junction where Brixton is some traffic lights, and they were green. And I didn't slow down. And as I got closer to the traffic lights, I saw there was a car stopped dead in front of me with no lights on. And yet the traffic lights were green, and this car didn't move. I had anticipated that he would move, but he didn't. And I ran into the back of this car and smashed the front of the A35 van, and it broke the radiator, and steam started to come out the front of the car. And I got out of the car. I was quite shaky, and I really couldn't stand up very straight. I was leaning against the side of the van to steady myself. I don't think I could walk straight because I was so drunk. And 2 men got out of this car in front and walked back towards me. And they said to me, "You have done it now, haven't you?" I said, "I'm very, very sorry. Very, very sorry. I just, my brakes weren't too good." He said, "You're in trouble now. We're going to throw the book at you." And when they said, "We are police officers. We are police officers. And we're going to throw the bloody book at you." Now, sorry for the language. When the police say they're going to throw the book at you, it means you're going to get the worst, either fine or the worst penalty which a court can possibly impose. Really. Let's see if I can change that camera angle a little bit. See if you see me. Oh yes. Ah, that's better, isn't it? Okay. Right. Now I can't. Yeah, that's better. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Just across the road from these traffic lights. Not that I didn't know it at the time, but there was a police station, Brixton Police Station. So they got into their car and drove. They took my registration number, but they didn't ask me any detail. I think they did ask my details. I'm sorry to be so vague about this. It's a long time ago, and I was very, very drunk, as you know. So logically, they must have had my details, my name, and etc. And Then they drove off. Now, I was waiting for something to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I thought, before long, I'm going to have a summons to appear in court, which will come in the post. I lived in South London, Brockley, not broccoli, Brockley, Brockley, Brockley. Okay, in Breakspears Road. I lived there. We rented the bottom flat. My parents rented the top flat. And we had two children. And I waited and I was really nervous. I didn't tell anyone about this. I certainly wouldn't worry my wife about this. I didn't worry my parents about it. I always thought to myself, if you get yourself into a mess, you've got to get yourself out. That's what you have to do. For example, when I met my wife, we were having a relationship. What we call what's the word for prenuptial marriage? Before we were married, we had a bit of the other, you know. And she was pregnant, and when she told me she was pregnant, and I told my parents, my father, and I said to my girlfriend, "Oh, we'll have it. We'll get married." I didn't even think about it. I did. Me and my girlfriend, although I liked our physical side, I wasn't particularly in love with her as such. It's very hard to know exactly what love is, but I did love going around there and doing what we did. And I was often there till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. But I don't know what's wrong. And my father said to me, this was when I was only 17, and he never talked to me about sex, not a word. But he said to me, look, I don't want you coming in 3 o'clock in the morning. I want you in the house before midnight, because you've got to stop this. He said, otherwise I'll lock you out. And we had a big row, a big quarrel. I said, you lock me out, I'll break a window and get in the back. So lots of boys of 17, 18, they have a relationship. It can be difficult. And I love my dad to bits, and the last 10 years of his life, we had a very good relationship. But there was a period, only lasted a few months, when we had rows about things that I shouldn't be doing. But he never actually told me why. But when I told my parents about my girlfriend being pregnant, and I said, we have to get married, my dad said to me, he didn't say to me, that's the wrong thing to do. He didn't say to me that it's going to ruin your life. Actually, it really did ruin my life, in a way. But he didn't say that. He said to me, well, you don't have to get married. He said, I will help to support the child. I will help financially to help you. I said, no. I've got myself in. There's an old saying, you make your bed and you have to lie in it. And I said, no. I said, it's my responsibility. And I got myself, no, we'll get married. We got married. We had met each other in 1956, when I was 17. I think I was just after I was working in Alden, Tilbury, and I had a summer holiday of 2 weeks. And the whole idea was that I would have a girlfriend for the holiday. And to get a girlfriend, it meant you had to learn to dance. It sounds very odd, doesn't it? But it did. One way of meeting girls was to be able to go to a dance, which they held every Saturday night, and I couldn't dance. So I went to a dancing school, and there I met some other people. I made 2 friends, one called Brian and one called Peter. Peter was very, very long and gangly, and Brian was a very clever young man. And they both had girlfriends, and I didn't. Well, we didn't see the girlfriend at the dancing class, but we were there together on this course to dance, and I learnt just the basics. I learnt the waltz, the quick step, the cha-cha, and the jive. 4 dances. Once I'd learnt those 4 dances, I thought, well, that's quite enough. That's quite enough. I will go to the dance at the Savoy in Catford, and we went. And I went. And I went there with Peter and Brian, and we should have been in the dance hall, of course, but downstairs there was a bar. And instead of being on the dance floor looking at finding a girl that I could dance with, I might like, we were down building up our courage, I suppose, having a few pints. So, excuse me, the dance was due to end at 11 o'clock. And I heard, believe it or not, I heard them playing the last waltz. They always play the last waltz. That's the last dance of the night. Da 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 dee 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 dee. La 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 la. La la dee dee. La la da dee da da da. That was the last waltz. When I heard the first few bars of that song, I went up the stairs quickly into the ballroom, and there was only about 5 or 6 couples dancing the last waltz. Everybody else had gone to the cloakroom and got their coats. And I was standing on one side of the ballroom, and I looked across, and there was a girl sitting on her own in a flowery skirt, frock, and she was not actually what I would call beautiful, so I wasn't knocked out by her looks, but she was the only one left that I could ask to dance. So I went across to her and said, excuse me, would you like to dance? Have this last dance with me? She said, yes, okay. She was not a bad looking girl, and she was very quiet. And we danced. And honestly, we only had two minutes of that dance. I don't believe we spoke. When the dance finished, we stood there, and I said to her, can I see you home? And she said to me, she said, I'm engaged. Oh, I said, well, all I said was, can I see you home? I wasn't making any suggestions. Just, can I see you home? Oh, she said, yeah, okay then. So I took her home. Quite a long walk, and outside where she was staying, she was actually staying in the house of her fiance. Her fiance was a soldier who was stationed in Cyprus in the Mediterranean, and we were outside in the alleyway, and we started to kiss. And this was almost the first kind of experience I'd had. But it wasn't the very first experience, but yes, almost the first. No. Well, yeah, and I think we agreed to meet again. Her boyfriend was away, and we started to date. And I had that 2 weeks holiday, so during that 2 weeks we saw each other every day. And there wasn't any opportunity or any private place that we could be together. But one night when I was taking her back to where she was staying, the name of her boyfriend was Appleyard, and the mother there was Mrs. Appleyard, and she saw us outside together. Oh no, no! What happened was this: one day, my girlfriend said to me, "I'm going to break my engagement with Peter." Now I remember this scene very, very clearly. My memory is not faulty. She said, "I'm sorry." She said, I'm going to break off my engagement with Peter. I said, what? Why is that? She said, because now I've met you, I realise that I want to be with you. I love you. Well, I'm not sure she said I love you or not, but that's what she said. I'm going to break off the engagement. I want to be with you. And you know what I said to her? I said to her, these are my exact words. I said, well, look, don't do it on my account. That's what I said. Don't do it on my account. In other words, I was saying to her, This is a holiday romance as far as I'm concerned, and nothing more. But when she told her mother-in-law to be Mrs. Appleyard, next time I went round there, and Mrs. Appleyard came out with my girlfriend, and she slapped me round the face. She was furious, and she threw the girlfriend out. And all she had was a suitcase. So we had to find a not bed and breakfast. We had to find her not bed city. It's a one room. What's the word for it? But it's one room. And it's got, you know, it's a one roomed apart. Yeah. So in a way that was good, and in a way it was bad, because once I'd moved her into that place there, that meant we could do all the naughty things that we couldn't do before. And that's how she got pregnant. And that's when my father said, "You don't have to marry her." I said, "I'm going to marry her because that's the right thing to do. If she can have a baby, it's my responsibility." And we got married on January the 11th. And the first child, a girl, was born in August. So I think that's about it, really. That's about it. Okay. It's the story of my life, isn't it? The story of my life. The foolish things I did. Foolish things I did. But if I hadn't married her, I saw a TV program about unmarried girls in the 60s. Many of these papers were taken away and sent to Australia. The social worker would come, and if the mother was unmarried, they'd come to the hospital and say, "Oh, we're just going to take the baby away to check." And the women never saw their babies again. And thousands of babies were taken away from unmarried mothers and taken to Australia. This scandal has only recently come out, and I didn't know that at this time, but I did know that if I'd have left my girlfriend on her own with a baby, which she could not support on her own, it would be impossible for her. I mean, she earned then £3 a week, and I was earning £11 a week. So she couldn't bring a child up on £3 a week. And the help that we get now with unmarried mothers was not like that in 1960. I had a relative of mine who became pregnant, and very quickly she was given a brand new council house. Some girls, in fact, deliberately got pregnant so they get a council house straight away. They got to the top of the list. But this was 1960, and I didn't know that it would have been a disaster for her to be left with a child with no income. So I'm glad I married. I'm glad I married her, and I'm glad I was trying to be the best father I could be. And we ended up eventually having. We had a total of 4 children, and And also I had health problems from a very young age, and at times I could be quite irritable, and I could be quite sometimes a bit manic. Sometimes I think I was manic depressive, because sometimes I wasn't happy, and I sometimes wasn't happy with the life I was leading. But I never hit the children, and I just wasn't. It wasn't. There were quarrels and there were rows, and that affected me, and that affected my wife, and it affected the children. So I'm not sure whether it was right that I got married or not. Because I'm not sure. If I hadn't got married, what would have happened? Would somebody else have married her and taken her child home? I don't know. Lots of men, they won't do that. They won't marry somebody that's already got a child. I did what I did. I paid the price, and my marriage eventually came to an end. And I got remarried, and that was the person I'm still with now. Been with her now 40 years. My first marriage was 20 years. And I've been now with my second wife over 42 years. So, and I've been very happily married, and I'll tell you more about that at a later time. That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.